What's up, YouTube artists and aspiring artists? It's Mike here with Aerosotle Custom Spray Paint Art. This channel is all about learning the wonderful world of spray paint art together. We're doing a bright galaxy nebula planet scene today. Before we get into the video, big shout out to Grandma Gail and my mom for tuning in. And without further ado, let's hop straight into tape down here. I got my planet stencils laid out. It's going for a little spirally shape there, kind of making it look like the planets are descending almost into a little galaxy. So just going to go in and start mapping out kind of the general look of my galaxy in the back. Typically, I'd start with my planets. Make sure you guys hit subscribe. It's going to keep you in touch with the channel when future videos do come out. Usually I'd start with my planets, kind of work those in, and I'm just working a little bit backwards here. I wanted to make sure I had the right kind of shape to my galaxy in the background here for what I was going for. So I'm just laying in some blue, laying in some purple, keeping things nice and light, not a whole lot of paint going on here. For today's video, I'm using Montana Gold spray paint, a little bit of Rustoleum Quick Color, and I think some Rustoleum Clear Coat. Coming in with a lighter blue now, starting to see that color combo really work, and that's the general look I'm going for. If you guys want to be featured in a video on the channel, head on over to Reddit and submit some artwork, join the conversation. We'd love to have you over at the Aerosotle community. From here, I'm going to just kind of black out the other edges. I'm using this Rustoleum Quick Color. That's going to be a really transparent black. So I'm not going for like deep, thick coverage, just darkening up some of those other areas. My big head will get out of the way eventually here. If you guys are just starting out with spray paint art, make sure to check out the beginner series. It's going to cover a lot of the basics. Not that this is a super advanced painting, but you might want to get some of the basic required learning in before you hit painting like this. Definitely some simple, easy to follow tutorials over on the rest of my channel, so check those out if you guys can. Just coming in, like I said, blacking out the last little areas, giving that spiral effect I'm going for. Layering back in just a few more colors, kind of reworking that color scheme. Back in with some purple here. Little tip that can definitely help all of your spray paint art. Shake those cans really good before you start, especially if you're painting in cold weather like I am. You're going to want to make sure they're mixed up really, really good. Coming in with this kind of dark greeny blue. And then baby blue over top. Toss in some white for good measure, and we're going to come in here with a plastic grocery bag and just texturize our planet. Nice little look to it here. Just dabbing off it, a little bit of paint dripping. So I'm just taking care of that now. Then I'm coming back in with that Rustoleum Quick Color black. It's going to come out in a nice fine mist. And then I'm going to hit this with some transparent white. I do find Rustoleum is a really thick spray. And this Quick Color gives me a bit more control. But the coverage is a lot less. So factor that in if you're playing around with either one of those brands. Coming in, we're just going to work in the rest of our planets here. Adding in some green. A little bit of blue. Darker blue, baby blue on our little planet at the bottom there, and some of that turquoise green again. It's going to work out a little texturization for each of our planets, and then play around with the shading a bit for this one. If you guys are painting along with today's painting, I definitely want to see your results. So head on over to the Reddit, Aerosotle, and yeah, show us what you've made. We're definitely excited to see it. Here I've done just some white, black on the base there, and gone back in with my plastic bag, laid in some dark blue on my other planet, and we're just going to work towards kind of highlighting the right areas of those planets here. I want to make sure the one closest that I'm working on there was as light as possible. Coming in with Montana Gold Black, we're going to cap that one off. Just going in here and was testing to see if I could pull up some of this paint and texturize it. Definitely dried pretty quick, which is a good thing. It's always good to let stuff dry before moving on to the next layer. Keep in mind, in these videos, I'm cutting out all the times I'm just waiting for things to dry just a little bit. If I did the full real-time version of these videos and I didn't cut out the dead space, we'd be here all day. So here I'm just changing my tip. I've got like a really round fat cap just for that start of my kind of center, I guess it would be sun or light source. And I've got things a little bit muddled here working in my planet, so I'm just adding a bit more color back in, kind of freshening up the paint in this area so I can pull a bit of it off in the next step. As long as I have that white base, I don't really mind working in some color over top, because again, I am going to texturize that area. I'm going to come back in here, work in my purple. Going back over it here also helps with making sure any of the overspray from our planet design doesn't bleed into the background. And it's going to make sure that we have a nice contrast on the edges of our planets here. There's a few oopsies in this painting for sure. I think those are coming up quick, but it's important to kind of show you guys my mistakes too and how I try at least to deal with them. Sometimes it doesn't always work out. So I've added some black just on top of our, reapplied galaxy paint combination here. I'm just going to work my way through and kind of texturize, pull some colors. It's got a nice little blending galaxy effect, and just gently tapping along. Not trying to pull too much paint off, but just get a little bit of texture. Kind of a sneak peek at that little planet here. I think I do wind up reshading that one anyway at some point. Kind of see that galaxy almost pop a little bit more and start to come to life. I toss in some clear coat and make sure I can rework my paint a little bit. Be careful if you use clear coat, because if you use too much, you might not realize it. And when you go in to do your texturizing, you might be pulling off a lot of paint, or the paint might be kind of too wet and goopy and not have the right result. So use it sparingly. You can always add more if you need to. Things are getting a bit sticky here with my planet stencils, so those are starting to fly around a little bit. I'm glad I got a little sneak peek at those planets. They're not really kind of shaded as much as they needed to be, so I'm just going in, kissing the edge of that one with some Rustoleum Quick Color. This one here, kind of same thing. Pop our stencils back down. Just going to add to that 3D look. Now I have those black patches. I just got to touch those up a little bit. Tapping with a plastic bag here. That one really doesn't want to stay on. Working in some stars here, so you're spraying onto your finger, flicking off to the side. Really change the pressure in which you're flicking, change the direction of your hand. That's how you're going to get kind of natural looking stars and avoid big blobs. If you're flicking too hard, you're going to get really long streaky stars, and you don't want that. If you have too much paint on your finger, you're going to have issues as well with big fat stars that you might not like. So I am a fan of layering these stars. I think I'll apply it at a few different points of this painting today. It just gives it a little bit more depth, having the stars be a little bit brighter, on the fresher layers, and then, you know, a little bit more faded in the background, kind of illustrating distance of the stars here. So really kind of focusing right now on that galaxy center area, just adding lots of stars, making sure it's a nice bright kind of look to the painting here. And then we're going to go in and work this all a little bit some more. Just changing my angle of attack there to make sure I'm kind of matching what I want to accomplish on the page here. Going back in, adding a bit more white. Retexturizing. Just starting to blend that white out just a little bit. At the very end here, we are going to add just a nice actual light burst in there. But for now, that's a nice kind of popping look to the center of our little nebula or galaxy here. This is really the fun of spray paint art, is just playing around with colors, playing around with different designs. Your night sky doesn't have to be just all black. It can definitely be really colorful, really bright. And if you look at this painting, there's not a whole lot of black spray paint on there. We're using that as a very subtle touch for kind of the shadows in different areas of this painting. You see me add a bit more black there, and we're just going to go in and pull off some paint. So that's going to give us a nice neutral kind of base over top of that. Adding some variance to the sky with that black, and just making some little gaps, giving it more of a gaseous effect for the purple and the blue. It's been really cold, although kind of a mild start to winter here in Canada, and I am officially set up with some heaters in my workspace. I've got my camera gear rigged up, ready to go, so I'm definitely enthused to paint with you guys over this coming winter. You know, if you're painting outside, my condolences to you. You can see that little sunburst in the middle there. I'm just using white Rustoleum Quick Color. Now going for a little kind of light ring around my top planet, and here's oopsie number one. It can be hard not having the right angle here, and I go to shake my can and just totally duff what I was trying to do. That nice big kind of fat burst at the end there. So I just abandoned this right away, going in with a plastic bag while it's still malleable. I'm just going to pull all that paint off. We have a nice texturized background, so this is going to hide really well. I tried to save it at first, but up close, even that white just didn't really look right to me. So kind of pulled it off, and then I'll come in with some purple afterwards and just kind of rework that night sky in that one section. That's the beauty. It's certainly not permanent, and spray paint layers really well over itself. So if you did an oopsie, just, you know, spray over it and kind of motor on. You might have to adapt what the initial look you were trying to go for is, but that's kind of the key with spray paint art. Rarely does my result on the paper match exactly what I was trying to do initially. There's usually one or two sections of the painting where something's gone awry, and you just got to kind of flow with it and let it become its own thing. So as mentioned, coming in just with a little bit of purple highlights for the sky here, getting rid of some of that smeared areas that I've pulled my white spray paint off of. If you guys have an idea for a future tutorial video here on the channel, make sure to drop a comment below. I'm definitely always looking for new suggestions and ideas. Head on over to the Reddit as well, and that's another good place to drop your tutorial ideas for future videos on this channel. As mentioned, we're layering stars here, so we're coming back in, tossing in some stars, making things pop again. From here, I'm going to do one more light burst in the center there, make that pop, and off come our planets. This one was really on there. I was using like a very thin, cheap poster board. I bought the wrong stuff from Walmart, so that gave me some grief Here's a look at all of our planets. I think this is a beautiful little painting. I'm gonna just kiss the edge there with some clear coat. Sign off on this one. Next up, we're gonna peel this tape off, and that's gonna be oopsie number 2, so stick around for the tail end of this video. To sign this, I'm just using a pointy little clay modeling tool. I just kind of came across it in some craft supplies, but you can pick those up for yourself. Here I'm just peeling my painter's tape off. I'm using that pointy tool to hold the edge down so I don't get any paint from my fingers on the canvas. All is going well. Our beautiful border is here. No. Problem solved. We totally ripped this painting, but with a little clever Instagram staging here. We've covered our blemish, and here's a glimpse at some of the details of this one, that beautiful night sky galaxy in the background, the Aerosotle signature. Make sure to sign your paintings, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again in a future spray paint art tutorial.